Welcome back to New Little Life. Today we're going to be talking about the Evenflo breast pump. I do see this one a lot, especially covered by insurance companies. So I wanted to run through this pump. It has some interesting features to it and kind of walk you through how to set it up, how to use it, and then at the end we'll talk about some pros and cons and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions on it just to help you in your decision to find a breast pump. If you're still looking for a breast pump, there's a really great quiz down below that I'd encourage you to take. It will kind of help you narrow down what type of pump you want and then give some of our most solid recommendations in each category just based on what you're going to be using your pump for. So that's a really good resource there. If you're new here, my name is Allison Tolman. I'm a breast pump expert and a coach for working moms. We talk a lot about breast pumps and pumping on this channel, so hopefully you're subscribed if pumping will be part of your life. A few years ago, we developed a custom device to test and compare breast pumps because there was not a lot of information we could find on comparing breast pumps. So a lot of what I'll be sharing today about suction capabilities, cycles, grafts, all of those things will be from all of that testing from that device we've made. I'll put another video on that one down below for you because it's super fun to explore and check out. I'm also the founder of the Pumping for Working Moms program, which is a long-term coaching program to help career-driven women balance pumping and their career. So if that's something that you're interested in and long-term help that way, there's a link down below. Let's dive into this pump though, the Evenflo Advanced Double Electric Breast Pump. It's usually what I hear it called. This pump is described and marketed as a hospital strength electric pump, although that doesn't really mean a lot to me. The suction on this pump is solid, but overall this pump is really just basic. There's also no regulation of hospital strength terms, so anyone can say that about any pump they want, just so you know. But I would really never compare this pump to one that we would see in a hospital, like a Medela Symphony or Meta Platinum or something like that. An interesting thing about this pump is that I had one several years ago that I did a video on, I think, and then the company sent me this one. It's an updated one. And my old pump, same thing. When I shake it, there's like a piece loose or something in it. And the same thing happened with this brand new one. So it just kind of feels lightweight. It is lightweight, but I think it's just kind of a really basic pump for you. So I do see this pump available through insurance quite a bit. So I know a lot of people do have this pump and are using it okay. So let's walk through just kind of the setup and how to use it. And then we'll talk about some of the pros and cons if you're considering it. The prices is a huge key point there. It's usually free from insurance or about $160 maybe retail. So really inexpensive if you're looking for an inexpensive pump. The suction capabilities actually are pretty good. I'm going to pull up my numbers here. But one thing I did notice is that this pump functions a little bit differently. It doesn't have a typical stimulation mode and expression mode that we see on most pumps. You're going to have to kind of have some understanding about the settings there. But we usually don't see really high suction in stimulation mode. It's usually faster cycles and a little bit lower suction. That's kind of the more norm that we see. And then the suction usually goes a lot higher in expression mode when we're drawing the milk out. If you're confused about all the terminology and modes, I'll put a video down below talking a little bit more about that too. But it will go up really, really high in stimulation mode. So that's kind of an interesting feature that it has there. I can get about 280 mmHg when I'm single pumping on this and about 230 when I'm double pumping. So just for reference, the Spectra is about 220, 230 when it's double pumping as well. So the suction is definitely there. The cycle speeds are a little bit slower though. So on the fastest mode, we'll say that it starts at about 80 cycles per minute, but then it drops pretty drastically as you increase the suction. So if you ended up at the highest suction level in stimulation mode, the cycle speeds are about 38, which is going to be really hard to initiate a letdown at that slow of a speed. So you're probably going to have to keep it on lighter suction a little bit to initiate that letdown quickly. Okay, I'm going to plug in this pump and turn it on. This pump does need to be plugged in for use. I think, actually it does have batteries and you can put 6 AA batteries in the back if you want. I anticipate that only gets you through about 4 or 5 pumping sessions though, so it's a huge waste of batteries. It's not portable. Okay, just plug it in. So when you turn this pump on, it will start in what we typically call stimulation mode, which is the fastest cycle speed that the pump offers, okay? So that will be with the four dots. That's the fastest cycle that it's going to be on. It's going to start on vacuum level 1, and then you can adjust that up as needed. Like I said, the speed does slow down as you increase the suction. You can probably hear that. Once you have a letdown, then you can explore moving this to slower speeds and a suction that works for you. All right. It will keep the same suction level while you alternate the speeds. That doesn't mean that it's exactly the same suction strength, so just be cautious there. If you're switching back and forth, you may end up on a setting that has a lot of suction that maybe you didn't intend to. But you will start in on the fastest one, like I said, to begin, and then slower. And then you'll probably need to go back and forth. That's really common to alternate between stimulation and expression mode, as we typically call it, on pumps to initiate more than one letdown per session. Just a simple on and off button as well. So you can do single and double pumping with this pump. So there's a little clasp right here. It has a plug on one side. If you'd like to do single pumping, you can plug this into that open side. Just make sure the other side is plugged. So everything's coming through this one port for single or double. If you want to do double, you'll take that little cap off and hook another piece to it. I'm going to leave it hooked up as single pumping, which is not as common. I would say most people do double pumping, but just for the ease of this video, that's what we're going to do. So a pump is more than just the motor and the suction capabilities. All right. I know we've talked about that on the channel a little bit before. And so one thing that I think is important to know about this pump is the flange kit. It has some interesting features that might make it a little bit more tricky to use. Okay. So it does have a narrow mouth bottle, which is great. The valve on this is not my favorite. So it has two pieces here. You have a little membrane and then the thing that goes with it. They snap together. You will need to take that apart during cleaning, and that will hold the suction. It'll kind of flap in and out as you're going, just while you're using the pump. That's how it works. A lot of other pumps have a duckbill style valve that goes on here instead. It doesn't fit though, so you will need to use the valve that it came with. This works okay. It just, you will need to replace this little membrane pretty regularly, maybe every 2 weeks if you're putting it under heavy use. They don't tend to last very long, and they can affect the suction there. It's got a backflow protector here, so this little silicone piece will need to be replaced every month or two as well, depending on how much you're using it. But that's a really important piece to keep the milk out of the tubing. All right, so you'll place that in here and then put the cap on for assembly, nice and tight. Now, the thing that's going to make this pump really tricky is the flange size. Okay, so it has a little cushion in it, and then the flange, the actual hard flange, is 30.5 millimeters, which is huge. Okay, very, very big. It's also not the standard size that we typically see, which is 24. Okay, all of the inserts that you're going to get online to change up the sizing will only fit in a size 24 flange, so they will not fit in the flange that comes with this. This little insert here is 28, which is still really, really, really big. So I don't know. I'll have to check the website and see if they make other sizes of this little cushion, because you will definitely need to pump with the cushion in there. And I mean, it is going to be comfortable if you can get the right size. So it kind of sits in like there. There's some extra space in here as well to give it a little give. I probably can't feel that, but if they have different size cushions, this could work. If not, this is going to be really challenging. Actually, when I ran the testing, I actually had to hook it up to a more standard style flange. This was a Spectra style, but they also come, Maymom, Nini Supply make several on Amazon. The tubing is really generic on this Evenflo pump, so you actually can hook up a different style flange with the pump if you want. Whenever you do that, it does change the suction capabilities a little bit. So just so you know, I did test it with a different flange because my machine doesn't have size 30, because that's just such a weird size. It's so uncommon and it's so big. Like, no one's going to be pumping with that size. But anyway, so just know if you do have this pump that the flange kit may be a bit of a challenge for you. And again, it's not my favorite, to be honest. Something interesting that I did like was the suction pattern on this pump, and I'll put a graph up here for you. It comes up and then it kind of has a little dip and then comes back down, which I can imagine would feel pretty comfortable. So I kind of like it when pumps have a pattern like that. So that was really interesting. Some known problems we have had with this pump is it's not uncommon that this pump does not last for a mother's full use of a breast pump. So sometimes they do just kind of stop working occasionally. So just make sure that you've bought it from a good place and that you can call in the warranty if needed. And if it starts acting funny or doing anything, again, I don't think it's the highest quality pump. It is kind of a cheap pump. And again, this drives me crazy. Why does this do that? Both of my pumps do that. And this one's brand new. So anyway, it's not the highest quality pump, but the suction is there. So if you can kind of get on board with that and kind of figure out, is this going to work for me? It wouldn't surprise me if you had to replace the flange kit that it came with, just because the sizes are super, super weird. Even I do think they have a 24.5 on their website in the cushion, but even that is still going to be really, really big for a lot of users. So some of the pros and cons of this pump, it is on the lighter side. It's a light pump. It's not overly loud. I would say that it's really mid-range in its sound. Some of the cons is some moms do report that it is kind of loud. So it is kind of advertised as a quieter pump, and I don't see it being crazy loud, but that's a common complaint that we hear. The flange kit is not good. It's going to be really tricky for sizing for you. You might just consider replacing that. It is lightweight, but it also feels kind of cheap. And I think it is a cheap pump, and that's why we see it a lot for free from insurance. And sometimes this is the only pump that you have. So don't let anything that I say here or my opinions dissuade you from feeling bad about a pump that you already have, especially if it's the only option that you have. But this is one of those pumps when a mom comes to me and is struggling with getting good output or comfort or pumping problems. If she's using this pump, I'm going to spend a lot of time troubleshooting. Is it a pump problem? There are some other pumps where that conversation is very quick and we move on because it's a trusted high quality pump that I know it's probably something else about the art of pumping that's wrong there. Pumping is complex. I've been doing this a lot of years, and there is way more to a breast pump than simply just putting it on and pushing play and going, which is kind of crazy. But this is one of those pumps that I'm like, if you have this pump and you're struggling, we kind of talk about, is this the right pump for you? Which we don't do a lot, but anyway. That being said, my final thought on this pump is it's not high on my recommended list. However, there are ways to make it work, especially if this is what you're dealt and this is the pump that you have. But everything else does really need to be in place to be using it well. We need to understand how the settings work. You need to know how to adjust those for yourself throughout a pumping session. We are going to have to do some troubleshooting with the flange, making sure we get a good fit. We may have to switch out some of those parts as well. And then just making sure that we're taking good care of this pump. You can't be banging it around. You can't be doing crazy stuff with it. I don't think it will last. So we have to just be a little more cautious and use it respectfully. I hope that was helpful. If you've used this pump or if you have any other questions about it, please put a comment down below and let me know. The comment section can be a really, really good place to learn more about this pump, especially from users who are actively using it. And any additional information, I'll pin in a comment down there as well. I wish you the best of luck in your pumping journey and goals. If I can help, feel free to reach out in any way. All right, happy pumping.